to the channel. Stephen Howson, Ronaldo Brown. You all right?
Do you know what? I'm doing pretty all right. I think I'm doing better because, well, it's not fully over, but the season kind of is. I think I've had a sense of
literally got the FA Cup final
lowered relief from the Premier League season being over, and because tomorrow we're playing Man City, but the expectations aren't there. Do you know what I mean?
26 hours away. Actually, what time does it kick off tomorrow? It's not 3 o'clock, is it?
It's around 3.
Is it 3 o'clock?
Yeah.
No, 3:30. What sort of dumbass time is that?
3:30 now, but realistically, the season ended.
3 o'clock. Yes, 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock kick-off. Come on, the lads.
Season after the Premier League ended, and I felt like a sense of relief after it. And now we've only got one more. I don't know what to expect, because part of me thinks, you know, that a little bit of hope that kills, where you've got no pressure, no expectations, but you kind of, when the game kicks off, I'm gonna be like, could we win this?
Boost the audio a little bit for us, please, Jay.
And I think that's what's gonna kill me, because I'm gonna be like, oh, can we win this? And then if it all goes to shit, I'll just be upset again.
Yeah, it is what it is, isn't it? I think Leonard Rickett says, "Is Steve even from Manchester?" See, Joe, we did a Heads Gone earlier, and with Ash, one of the questions someone asked us was, "What's the weirdest rumour you ever heard about yourselves?" I hear shit like that.
That you're not from Manchester?
Yeah.
But you got a pretty blatant Manc accent.
Well, it's softened big time. There's a video of me at an FC United game in 2005 where I look like I've auditioned for being on Shameless. Scour.
Shameless?
Like, yeah, it's such a Mancunian.
Or was it an Andy Tate audition?
It's almost Andy Tate. It's well bad. But yeah, man, just...
I've not heard a crazy rumour about myself, actually, which is surprising, because I think I've got to the stage where I might start hearing those. I think I've heard some couple of rubbish. It's usually to do with me and Liverpool that I've heard.
What? Why you got sacked?
Yeah, or people saying that I'm Scouse and saying that I'm actually a Liverpool fan. I'm surprised how far it's actually reached about my academy days. I'm not actually,
because I think that's the only thing that people really genuinely know about you. So I think that there was. There's all sorts of stuff that could potentially come out from that.
Nah, but when I've taken the piss out of Liverpool whenever they've lost, or Scousers, I've had full-on Scousers that obviously don't watch Paddock, or maybe they do, that know about me and all my academy tenure at Liverpool, and using it against me. And I'm like, how do you know, unless you're silently subbed and got a notification bell on for Stephen Howson and Stretford Paddock, the fan channel?
People do. People are weird, man. They talk about all sorts of
Do you know the message I'm talking about? It's the one that I sent you, and obviously I can't repeat it.
Oh, mate,
the race, the one that had the huge race.
There's a guy on social media that went to school with me that was waffling all sorts of shit at one point, and he was like, "Don't even like football."
So he just doesn't like you?
No, he said, "I don't even like football."
Okay.
And he was like, "I'm only doing this because I got a career doing it." Like, you realise that I did this for free for years. Like, hell of a gamble that this might end up as a career.
Yeah.
A decade later.
They only see where you are now and not what you had to go through to get to where you are.
But
that's the part.
But even
that
just saying that
see.
I didn't even like football. Now here's the thing: I played rugby at school, and I was good at rugby at school. I didn't really watch rugby. I always watched football. Me and my dad went to Old Trafford throughout my entire childhood. Like, that's one of the weirder rumours that I've ever seen about myself. That I didn't like football. And it was like, "Oh, he played rugby." Yeah, I did play rugby, but I wasn't doing anything. That was Sunday mornings.
There's a lot of that in the football fan verse, where people do like to kind of have their opinion on deciding what makes a fan, who makes a fan, what makes you the better fan than other people. I see that a lot in it, and that's one of my biggest bugbears. And I think that's part of it. Is just like, you don't really love football, do you? Because you're not like the rest of us. That's kind of where that seems to stem from. Do you know what I mean? But I think that's all bullshit anyway. The same way, if I'm going to segue into what we're actually talking about, which is McKenna, where I've seen a lot of people say that they're done with Manchester United in terms of supporting him if they get rid of Ten Hag. And
I saw your tweet about
yeah.
it, and I think, do you know what? It's a dumb thing to say. Now, would I be happy to see Ten Hag go? No. I think it might happen though.
Yeah, because to be fair, you've been semi in the middle, but I think you've always been more on the side of give Ten Hag another year. Speaking to you even off camera, Steve, you've been pretty consistent in saying that you feel like Ten Hag should be given another year under the new regime and to see how it goes. But you've also been
I acknowledge
critical
that there's been
issues.
issues. I'll absolutely acknowledge there've been issues. You're absolutely blind if you're saying there's not been issues. There's mitigating circumstances for some stuff, and there's not mitigating circumstances for other stuff. I manage myself. I think I've got a fairly astute level understanding, obviously with the differences in the levels being like 12 different levels, so it's a lot of difference. But I understand that there's some things that you as a manager can control, and there's some things as a manager you can't control. And there's some things that as a manager you can definitely improve, and there's some things as a manager that aren't really up to you, but a lot of people give you the credit or blame when it goes right and wrong, which is a strange one to me. Like there's that McKenna ball goal going around. Guy bends it into the top fucking corner with the outside of his foot. That's not systematic goal. Like the build up to it's sensational, but the finish is what makes it, and the finish is individual brilliance. And you go, are we putting this down to you've done an absolute madness on this one, or are we putting this down to that there was more of a system involved in this one? It's very hard to say at some points. But yeah, I think I've been pretty fair on Ten Hag. I think the feeling right now is he's gone though.
It does seem like it, because when Damasio, as you've already spoken about, you did a live speaking about the report that he's definitely going, and Damasio was seen as a Romano before Romano, about 5-6 years ago. Not quite as credible, especially outside of Italy. It was a huge statement to make for a journalist of that size anyway, in terms of how strong he went on it. And then you've also then followed it with, you've seen Sky Sports News last night, and then literally an hour ago, The Athletic, Dan Sheldon, who's a United and Man City correspondent for The Athletic, they're quite credible sources, Sky and Athletic, have come out and said...
There's a lot of people making a lot of noise. Now, I haven't heard anything on this, so I'm only basing this on educated guessing of the outlets and the things that people are saying. I think United have spoke to McKenna. I think that's legit. And half of me thinks, if INEOS want a project, you don't get an old manager in for a project. You get a young manager in for a project. You wouldn't get Ancelotti in, for example. I'm trying to go extreme with it there. But you wouldn't get Ancelotti in for it. You wouldn't get Fergie in now for a project at the age that those managers are. You want a young manager. The only other young manager that I could think that you would go, oh, for sure, would be like a Nagelsmann, maybe. But I think McKenna knows the club, obviously. He was headhunted by United, coached their under-18s, did a sensational job with their under-18s, they won everything. Was poached for the first team under Jose, last bit of Jose, was kept on by Ole. There was some individual good moments under Ole, and I've said this a few times, the longer this goes on, Jake, you just hit the viewer activity tab, please. The longer this goes on, the better Ole's reign has looked at United. I think there's something in that. No, just the tab there.
I don't know.
Viewer activity.
I'm not sure about that though.
Left. No, that's right. Left. Up. Stop. There we go.
I disagree. I don't like some of the revisionism about Ole's tenure that I do see.
I'm not saying it's better than it was. I'm saying it looks better the longer the time goes on.
Because you're just comparing it to continued failure though. Just because the failure looks less attractive and there was less kind of thingy to it, doesn't mean that
it was the right thing that he had to go. I think he stopped believing in himself, and once you haven't got the belief in yourself, then I think it's game over. But that wasn't the point I was trying to make. The point is obviously that there's a little bit of experience there with McKenna of the club and of Premier League management, even if he wasn't the one that had to make the final decision. There's experience still there. There's still experience that you've been getting as a number two. He's then taken the plunge as a number one, steadied the ship first season with Ipswich, and then got back-to-back promotions, unfancied back-to-back promotions. There's one thing getting a back-to-back promotion with like a relegated Premier League side, which is probably going to bounce straight back up. That's one thing. taking someone through the Championship when they was League One, there's something there with that. Now
we've seen it before. Eddie Howe.
You've seen it loads of places.
And Eddie Howe's gone on and been pretty successful.
And you've obviously seen people that have played a certain very specific brand of football in the Championship have tried to come and replicate that in the Premier League and struggled.
Which happened to Kompany.
A lot.
Vincent Kompany.
Yeah, and
it's usually the Championship.
Norwich as well.
Yeah, the Championship teams that do better, I've seen it.
Are the worst football.
Are the worst footballing ones. Basically, the ones that run away with the Championship, playing great football at the top of the league, are usually ones that do the worst when they go into the Premier League because they carry on doing the same things, but they don't quite have the quality in the squad as the other Premier League teams do. Whereas the ones that come in second or third, they usually come in a bit more hard and pragmatic. They try and
a bit more pragmatic.
Try and kind of grind out results, and they
probably
kind of
have
better.
a way of going direct if they need to, and something that maybe levels the
percentages.
field.
They play the percentages a bit more.
Yeah, if you do what Burnley did, and that was why I thought Burnley were going down before they came in, because I think they broke records for how good they were last year. But the way I watched them, it was like an attempt at being Manchester City. And you can do that if you've got a great system and players are relatively equal to the league that they're playing in. But if you're coming into the Premier League, you've got players that are playing very direct football that are better than your players. And your players are trying to play what can be a bit of a risk sometimes to be in possession to the level that Burnley were. And it just didn't work for them. You've got to have the talent to dominate games if you want to dominate games. You can't just, I couldn't put Paddock in the Premier League and say, right, we have 65, 70% possession in our league. We will have 65, 70% possession. Because no, you won't. No, and now you haven't got that way of playing as a plan B. And that's one extreme example. We couldn't go up 4 leagues and do that, let alone up fucking 12.
This is why the whole managerial thing, where it can be complimented sometimes being stubborn and sticking to philosophy, but sometimes it can almost end up being naive. And
the flip side of that one is, it feels real that Vincent Kompany's being linked with Bayern Munich. It doesn't feel like someone's tossed a name out and there's nothing in it. He'll probably be successful with Bayern Munich with that style of play. That's able to work seeing in the Premier League with Burnley, but with Bayern Munich, with players that have played, a lot of the things he's going to say to them, some of them heard a few years ago with Pep. They actually heard it from that guy. So it's not the same, but it'll be a similar sort of thing. And their adaptation to playing that way will be so much easier than the fucking lads at Burnley. What he did, by the way, in turning Burnley a full 180 degrees.
There's different. That's true. You have better quality in the squad, but managing Burnley and managing Bayern comes with a complete different set of variables outside of just how you're playing tactically and how your players' quality. It's also managing egos, personalities, whether they respect you. There's a whole different experience as a manager when you go up a manager club like Manchester United or a Bayern Munich, and that's how sometimes clubs get found out. And that will be one of the major concerns with a McKenna. It's not going to be whether he can coach or whether he's good with his tactics. It's a lot of the other stuff. Can he handle
the size of the club?
And that's some
he never had to do a press conference, as far as I'm aware, as a United manager.
And that's the same thing with Ten Hag's. A lot of Ten Hag's concerns, obviously he's had tactical concerns, but some of it has been he doesn't really have that much charisma. He don't have, there's more to it when it comes to managing a football team, and I think that's why Arsenal fans have kind of ran with the idea that clubs in Europe now are going for the whole Arteta route, going for a young, unproven kind of ascending manager and seeing if it can work that way in a rebuild. And it's obviously worked for them in terms of getting them competitive. They haven't really won anything yet though, so that's going to have to come. But I think if I'm giving Arteta credit, he is a good manager, but I think he's also good at a lot of the other things in terms of, you look at Arsenal, it seems to be a together team. They seem to kind of mirror his personality. It just seems, you look at it and he's stamped his imprint on the squad and on that club in general, which is not easy to do.
Years to do as well. It's took him a good few years. Ten Hag's finished 8th, and he's probably going to get the sack for finishing 8th. He took over a team that was 6th.
Yeah, we were shit.
Got us 3rd.
Was after Ragnick?
And then 8th, right? I can't remember where Liverpool had finished prior to Klopp, but didn't he come 8th? Was it twice in 8th or once in 8th? Either way, he fucking came 8th, right?
Yeah.
Arteta was allowed to finish 8th. Now, I'm not comparing the managers. I'm just saying there is a teething process that you have to go through. And those two managers who were given time eventually managed to at least start showing a style of play and moving up what they were doing. 2 years is a short space of time. And I think we saw enough last year that you could give him a lot of credit. And like I said, this year there's been some issues, some his fault, some not his fault. But it still feels quick. I think ultimately what we're dealing with here is he wasn't an INEOS appointment, and INEOS have got the keys now.
I thought that from the get-go. As soon as INEOS came in and he started making sweeping changes,
it's the most dangerous time for any boss.
I thought, yeah, they're probably going to want their own gaffer.
Thomas Tuchel was like, Todd was sitting there going, "Oh, you're fired!" Like he couldn't wait, man. He couldn't wait to fuck Tuchel off after, and they've not been able to get anywhere close to that.
They want their own guy in it. But one thing I do want to address is Knight's goals. Ronaldo pretends there isn't an injury excuse because his favourite tactical, whatever that means, De Zerbi, has had injuries but also plays awful football. See, this is what kind of frustrates me on Twitter. Everyone just completely misses the point. Like, he says pretends there isn't an injury excuse. That's not what I did at all. Basically, I just said, ever since it was announced that Ten Hag's job was in danger, which was probably like a month and a half ago, and then we started getting links to De Zerbi, a lot of United fans that were heavily Ten Hag in started to hate watch Brighton and De Zerbi. So every time they lost, every time they did anything, it's like, he can't get him in, look, he's shit. Not really.
The head-to-head last weekend probably did no favours.
Yeah, exactly. Not realise it. So, and these are the same people that alleviate Ten Hag of any blame of what's happened because of injuries, right? But they haven't afforded De Zerbi the same excuse when they were hate watching Brighton. The fact that he's had his squad decimated with injuries as well. So it's just whatever fit. That's the argument I was making. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't saying that injuries haven't been an excuse, because they are a valid excuse. But it's just the way that it kind of got shit. The way they kind of look at it for one person, don't look at it for. I just basically was highlighting hypocrisy. That was all it was.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of that, and there's quite a lot of questions. I'm going to go scrolls up to the top of them super chats on the left, Jay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look into the super chats. There's quite a lot of people saying similar things. Xavi's been sacked, I'm aware of that, and someone's just said, would you take Xavi? I haven't seen anything out of Xavi that makes me think absolutely yes or no. And I question, what's gone west for him at Barcelona. I mean, I know they're a shit show at the moment. A lot of people are saying, can we appoint an inexperienced coach? Every single coach starts off as inexperienced. I don't necessarily know at what point in your coaching career you become good enough, or if you're always good enough. Do you know what I mean? On my own journey, obviously, I feel I've learned a shitload. I am 99 games deep, which would have been done in a couple of seasons at a top flight club, but at amateur level takes a few years, like 3.5 years or something, to get to this kind of stage. So I feel like if I look back at my team talks, my tactical briefings from 3 years ago, I'll probably be cringing out my head, thinking, fucking hell. And I will probably imagine by the end of next season, I'll be cringing at the stuff that I'm about to say in about a month. Because that's just the way it is. You evolve, you learn, you grow. I don't know at the top level, because obviously I'm not there. I don't know if you've got enough. Did he have enough after managing United under 18s? Did he have enough after being an assistant at United? Did he have enough after his first season, after his second season? Has he not got enough yet? Like, I don't know where that comes in.
And and I'll follow that up by saying the buzzword for the possible manager appointment for United is risk. Who on earth are United going to appoint that isn't a risk? When is appointing a manager ever not a risk? Is my point.
One guy,
do you know what I mean?
with an overinflated amount of responsibilities.
Yes.
Everyone is a risk. Like, you can't name me any manager. Pep's a massive risk with that squad. Are you going to buy in 25 players? Because Pep ain't doing shit if you don't.
There is no manager or no one that United could appoint that isn't a risk. So it's just saying, this person's a risk. I think unfortunately, there isn't anyone that is. And the thing is, it's as much a risk to change manager and appoint someone else as it is to keep Ten Hag at this point. Do you know what I mean? That's just the way things are. And I'm someone that was heavily critical of Ten Hag throughout the season. But still towards the end of the season, I started to kind of narrow off my viewpoint in terms of thinking I wouldn't be totally against if Ten Hag was kept on. Do you know what I mean? I kind of said, if Ten Hag was given another year, I'd be like, fair enough, because there isn't anyone that's obvious in terms of the manager market. That kind of makes sense. There's not anyone that's obvious that's better that might replace him. Everyone else seems to be a bit of a risk and a bit of a toss-up. That's fair.
Jay, just lift the browser window up a little bit and I can get into these super chats in a sec.
But I'm concerned with a lot of the things that I have been seeing. So this is why I'm a bit on the fence. I feel like if Ten Hag was to go and they appoint someone else, I'd be like, fair enough. If they were to keep Ten Hag, I'd be like, fair enough. And I'd just be hoping that my club, Manchester United, do better next season, because that's who I'm focused on and that's who I'm supporting. I'm not got some sort of affinity to whoever's on the touchline.
CW Yap there says, Ipswich Town coach, what a joke. Well, would you have said the same about an Aberdeen coach 40 years ago?
What league do you reckon's better? The Championship or the Eredivisie?
I think the Eredivisie. Championship. I think they're different. One's way more technical. One's way harder. So I think looking at who they coach is a bad idea, in all honesty. A good coach is a good coach. It does not matter where they are.
Yes, exactly.
I think I can only think of decent players that have gone on and been managers and it's not worked for them. I think Rooney did an excellent job at Derby, and it was probably because of the circumstances, but then he did a horrendous job with Birmingham, and he didn't do a great job in the MLS either. And I don't know if the MLS experiment with him was maybe a bad idea. When I look at what Lampard did, I didn't think he shown anything at Derby. Did he go from Derby to Chelsea?
Yes.
That was wild.
But also, I think the Chelsea connection, similar to not exactly the same as to what McKenna has with Manchester United, but
him and Ollie are both proven that
they
can do better as managers than anything that Lampard had done. So obviously Lampard has then gone to Everton and been horrendous. Gerrard horrendous with Villa, and good managers come in and shown what a difference that they can make in Emery. In a drastic sense, obviously getting them Champions League. I mean, Gerrard was intent on taking them to the Championship. And they saw the light and binned him. And I just think, you don't know what's going to happen, whether, people want to bring up like the fact that Arsenal and Barcelona appointed Pep and Arteta with essentially no experience. Pep got a little bit of experience with Barcelona reserves, and then got given the keys to what was an excellent team, already had Messi in it, already had Iniesta, already had Xavi, and he was obviously into the fabric of Barcelona as a player himself, so he knew what that team was all about, and then he arguably took it to another level. So was he a risk as much? Yes and no. Was Arteta going to Arsenal, was that a risk? Yes.
Yeah, it was.
And has it paid off? Not necessarily yet. I mean, they're playing some good football right now, but they haven't won anything.
They've had some good foundations set. Yeah. I think that's what they can say, but they actually haven't won anything at this moment in time. And he did go into a bit of a shit show, because the place that we are now is very similar to where Arsenal were when he took over. But Arteta notably finished 8th twice in a row and managed to survive. And I think that's what a lot of United fans allude to in saying Ten Hag should be afforded similar.
Yeah, not every manager that finishes 8th goes on and wins the title.
Exactly, but I'm not going to lie to you, sometimes people like Arteta in the way that it's went for him at his tenure at Arsenal. It can be a bit of an anomaly. Yeah. And then people may argue that's because managers don't usually get that opportunity to be an anomaly, because a manager at Arsenal won't probably ever again get to finish 8th twice and keep his job, is the point, to turn it around. But I don't know. I think there's too much that's up in the air, and everything's got an element of risk, or you're not sure how it's going to play out. This is why INEOS have taken so long to make a decision.
Joe, there's a really interesting chapter in Soccernomics that talks about racism in football still existing in a massive way for coaches, right?
Yeah.
And they sort of go into saying one of the reasons why racism on the pitch, in terms of selection, was completely eroded. I think it's safe to say it's completely eroded in terms of like selection, not picking someone because they're black or they're Asian or whatever. I think that's been completely eroded. And one of the reasons why it still probably exists institutionally with managers is because you can look at Sol Campbell and Warren Barton and you can go, the black guy's better. And I don't think there's anyone that's going to argue with you. So you can objectively see he is a better footballer than this guy. Whereas because people don't know don't know how to rate and judge a manager's ability, because it depends on the materials that he's working with. And then is it all on results? Not really. Sometimes is it all on results. The process is massive when it comes to management. And that's why there's probably still racism exists in management. But the bigger sort of point I'm trying to make is people don't know how to rank a manager. You know, you can look at a striker and you say, listen, in 10 shots, the guy scores 5 goals every time. He's done that over 7 seasons. He's got 40 goals every single season. He's quick. He's strong. He can finish. He's got both feet. So you can evaluate the skills that this individual has as a striker. Whereas a manager, especially when it comes to someone like Pep, who's only ever had jobs in teams expected to do something, how do you equate what he's like? Could he keep a Burnley up? Probably not.
I think managers have, from when that Soccernomics book obviously did that, because I remember you actually giving me that book to read. I think it's changed a little bit now, because I think football's become so tactical, so systematic, almost robotic in a way at the top in terms of the top of Europe. The way games are, it's almost like a game of chess sometimes. I think managers almost have bigger influence now, and coaches have bigger influences now on results than probably 5 years ago. In terms of a tactical standpoint,
I think it's still. I believe it's still on recruitment. I think if you've got 11 good players, they will. Broad strokes, and this is where you lose all the fucking tiny brains in the comments, because they can't understand anomalies and they can't understand outliers. But broad strokes, good teams finish above poor teams. Broad strokes. And I think, most managers, and this is the difference, most managers are competent. Most, right? I think it's rare that managers are bad managers.
There's a guy.
Most managers know football. Most managers can look at a game and go, "No, you shouldn't have kicked it in your own goal."
Yeah, it can be. It can. There's a guy that's quite unsufferable on Twitter. We made a really good point on what he's talking about with managers. The same way that you've got probably got 1 billion people that play football in the world. The ones that you watch in the Premier League and the Champions League, they're in the top 0.00001%. It's the exact same thing for managers. It's even less. Think about the amount of football coaches and football managers in the world, and that goes down to like Sunday League football. The ones that are managing at the top in terms of the Premier League, they're in the what percentile? The top.
Well, it should be the same ratio as players, but
do you know what I mean? Exactly. So they're not bad managers, are they? In terms of the grand scheme of things,
some will get it. Some,
do you know what I mean?
And I'm not saying this is what Lampard and Gerrard have done, but some people will be given opportunities. Like, look, Wayne Rooney was clearly appointed because he was Wayne Rooney at Birmingham. They had a competent manager, and they thought, we can get a bit of a sexier appointment in Wayne Rooney, let's appoint Wayne Rooney. Asher's been offered jobs as manager, right?
Yeah.
He coaches at under 13s. Okay, they're pretty good under 13s. They're winning a treble this year. But does that make you want to go and appoint him as a Championship or League One team? No, you're appointing him because of who he was as a player, really. Yes, he's got his badges. I think he's UEFA A, right? But you don't know what he's like coaching adult football because he hasn't done it. So you're gambling on, I think he's a good bloke and I think he's got a good personality and I think he connects with the lads and I liked him as a player. And you're appointing him based on those 4 things. There's a lot of those appointments.
Yeah, there is. They're all not what you know, who you know.
Massively so.
Yeah, that definitely is a thing. Football can be quite political in that sense, but I feel like for the most part, The managers
Right
that
then, our
get
friends
these
at
jobs at this
HelloFresh
level, they might
are sponsoring
not be up
another
to
video, and it's so simple to order
role he might
and to
end up failing
receive
over a couple
and to
of
go and
years, but
take
in
your
terms of
stuff
being coach
and
as a
cook
manager,
it
obviously
that we
competent
thought we would
people,
grab
it's
it
just-
and go do it
it
outdoors.
doesn't work out for him.
If you could have a conversation with them, like
Like
I've been
on a
lucky enough
culinary
doing a podcast with
adventure
Rio
with
that we have
HelloFresh,
conversations
where balanced
with
meals meet the
people.
ease of home cooking.
You
Our
have-
calorie smart
what?
recipes all under 6.
Right then, our friends at HelloFresh are sponsoring
wanna tell
another
us what's
video,
going on?
and it's so simple to order and to receive and
Is
to go
the
and
mics
take
up or
your
down?
stuff and cook it that we thought we would grab it and go do it outdoors.
Embark on a culinary adventure with HelloFresh, where balanced meals meet the ease of home cooking. Our calorie smart recipes, all under 650 calories, and veggie recipes bursting with flavours bring you convenience without compromising taste. HelloFresh simplifies your journey to a balanced lifestyle with convenient meal solutions. Elevate your day-to-day with family-friendly recipes, delicious treats, and the satisfaction of home-cooked meals tailored to your goals. I used to dread meal planning and grocery shopping, but with HelloFresh, dinner is a breeze. These recipes are easy to follow, and the meals are always delicious. With HelloFresh, you can choose from a variety of chef-created recipes each week, plus all ingredients are sourced directly from growers and delivered to your door in eco-friendly packaging.
And there you go, it is that easy. I went with the honey beef sesame noodles, but as they're now hereby known, Stevie's Nature Noodles. These are absolutely belting. Get 6% off your first order and free desserts for life using the code HELLOSH60.
So why wait? Say goodbye to mealtime monotony and hello to delicious, hassle-free dinners with HelloFresh by clicking the link in the description or by scanning the QR code. Embark on your culinary adventure today.
Right, we're back. Sorry about that. I don't know how that ended up going in so early, but genuinely, that was really nice. Stevie's Nature Noodles, should check them out because it was actually banging. Link will be in the description if you want to get involved with that one. What was we saying?
My head's gone, man. I don't know, bro. That's blasted. That is wrecked my head completely.
All right, I've got super chats anyway, so let's get into the super chats. Right then, so Christos says, where does the saying "support your local" even come from? I'm a United fan from London, being called a glory hunter, not in the last 10 years, you've not, and support your local club, etc. I don't know. I think there's a lot of, we said this earlier at the start anyway, there's a lot of people want to gatekeep and tell you how to support and blah, 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 blah. Like, it is what it is. People just upset and want to fuck about, don't they? SDMN Clips says, what if Ten Hag failed to impress in the 4-hour meeting he had with INEOS since the possible sacking? It's possible.
Yeah,
like we said, didn't we? We wanted him to be sat down, and I want them to, they've got analysts. So I want him to sit down with the analysts and say, right, okay, so we saw this, and we don't think this is good enough. Talk to me. And if he can explain it and say, yeah, listen, we had blah, 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 and that was this and that was that, and then grill him on it. Now, I'm not saying that's like you have to interview him for it or whatever, but like, I think you can have an honest, real conversation and say, right, listen, we don't think this was good enough. Why do you think this happened? And if, like, look at the shots, for example. United have conceded only less than Sheffield United. Now, if they sit there and go, well, we think that's not good, and he goes, I don't see a problem with it, I would expect people in the meetings to be like, right, okay, I'm just going to write that down, because that's mental. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what? Isn't that a part of you, because I don't think we've discussed this yet, that thinks we've got probably the biggest game of the season tomorrow,
and all this talk,
and all this is happening in a couple of days leading up to it. And I think a lot of people also may believe that if INEOS were definitely pro Ten Hag, they would have probably pledged their allegiance to him earlier.
Not even this week,
but
earlier.
Earlier. That's what I think they should have done. Do you know what I mean?
I think I said that when they came in, and we've not seen it. They've dodged the question very politically,
which gives you a clear indication of how they think.
It's an answer in itself, isn't it?
Yeah. But it just means, I don't know, could it work for us? Could City see, they're a mess, they're shit, we've just been on a boozer for about 3 days before we started training, and underestimating us
would be probably the main way we could win tomorrow.
I think that's when we played best this season, when teams have underestimated us. Because even Newcastle, I thought Newcastle, the arrogant Muppets, I think the way they rocked up to Old Trafford the other day, they thought they were going to turn us over. I got that vibe from them, and They got dick slapped. But I think that's when we're best anyway.
I got loads
I'm
of these to
hoping.
get through. Let me get through some of these. Right, so Gallic Breadman says, did I read Bruno's letter to the fans? No, Jay and Joe told me about it upstairs before. I haven't read it myself yet, though. I've been busy this morning. But you know, I have got it on my to-do list as soon as I'm done here. Scroll down a bit. Not that much. Dad of Caesar says, Steve, was it Robbo or McClare that hooked the ball back into Sparky for the goal against Oldham at Wembley? Swear it was Chucky, but not so sure. Mate, it's that goal is on YouTube. Just go watch it. Nicholas Walker says, issue we can't see what Ten Hag is trying to do. Klopp, Ange and others, you can see exactly what the plan is. I sort of disagree with that. I think this season it's been really hard to identify unless it's the absolute basketball chaos. If he's been wanting to do that, then yeah, we can absolutely see that. But I thought last year you could absolutely see what he was trying to do. I just don't think you've been able to see it as much this year. Up a touch. Stephen Harris there with one says, have a cup final rum for my man Ronnie B. Yep, since we tried lager last week and
Is that a personal super chat for me?
Yeah.
I'll be collecting that $5 off Steve.
Tron says Xavi has been sacked. United material. I don't think so. If all the names linked to us, I'd probably take him over Southgate, but otherwise, no.
Oh, listen, Southgate will be tough.
Tiesco Santa Clara says Barca officially sacked Xavi. Any thoughts as the new potential United manager? Let's get into that in a second. I'm just going to get through the rest of the super chats. If manager goes, do we see players like Sancho stay? Secondly, Rashford not getting picked for the Euros baffles me. It doesn't necessarily baffle me. I just think there's other players that are in the squad that have been equally as poor or worse, and that's the bit that confuses me. Would you see Sancho stay if Ten Hag goes? Me, no. Because you've already undermined the next manager then. I think no, you need to draw a line and say he's not been a good enough employee, off he goes. And then Ed says, do I think Pep disciples get big jobs with little experience more than others, and why? Enrique, Xavi, Company, Arteta, Enzo, rumoured. I'm going to say, listen, I don't necessarily think it's Pep disciples. Barcelona love an internal appointment. Like, wasn't Valverde an ex-Barcelona player?
Yeah.
Who else has been there?
I think people just are hoping that someone that's
Enrique.
Yeah.
You know, he's not a Pep disciple. Did he even play for Pep? Played alongside him, didn't he?
Yeah, but I think people are just thinking that anyone that's coached around Pep or underneath him, they're just hoping that they emulate him because of how successful he's been.
That's always what Barcelona have done. Johan Cruyff was a Barcelona player that got given a Barcelona. That's their thing, is they appoint players as managers. They've always done that. Always done that.
Yeah, but I think but also the reference to the likes of Company and Arteta that basically are.
They are now, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But then when you look at Mark Hughes, Roy Keane, Steve Bruce, all of these lot, did they get their starts because they'd been good managers and worked up as like youth managers and this? No, they got opportunities because they'd won stuff at Manchester United as under Fergie, and then they got given an opportunity. Like,
same thing, yeah.
It's the exact same thing. Now you might say there's more influence or more of an obvious influence in the way that you see those players / managers go on and play their football versus what you maybe saw with Sir Alex. But yeah. Yeah,
because that's true. Hansi Flick is obviously new Barca manager now, which is interesting. That means Nagelsmann probably will definitely stay then after the Euros.
I'll have Nagelsmann. I like Nagelsmann football.
Do you know what?
That's why I'm thinking I'm going for Germany in the Euros.
He's not on the cards, though. You know what it is? I think when INEOS do make a decision, it's going to be... I think it's within the next week. I don't think it lasts any longer than that. I think they want to get their job done and get it done quickly. Obviously, a lot of the delay might have been because the Glazers waiting until pretty much in season or late mid-season to get the deal with INEOS over the lines. That INEOS had to start everything late in terms of their planning.
And then everyone's had gardening leave.
And everyone's got gardening leave. That's probably been the main reason why there hasn't been a definite decision made yet as well. But I just think the moment that INEOS came in and didn't really say anything in support of the manager who was under pressure, kind of said that they had their minds made up. Do you know what I mean?
In hindsight, that's a big one, I think, isn't it?
100%. But I'm still harping back to the issue of this being done and this kind of noise just before an FA Cup final. And it's just kind of, it's in line with United and the circus that has been for a decade, and it seems to be continuing. I'm even seeing people already becoming a little bit suspect of INEOS already, and they've barely even started. Do you know what I mean? I've seen that as well.
Has anyone even done a day's work yet?
But they're saying because of it, they're saying, especially if they start Ten Hag, there's a lot of people that are like that. Do you know what I mean?
Well, here's the thing, right? There was a few options this could have gone. One was sack him, one was give him a new deal, and both of those are quite aggressive decisions in whichever way you want to put it. I thought the sensible thing was to let him start next season, tell him there's a 3, 4, 5, 6 months to make something happen, and then you'll either get a contract extension or you'll be leaving at the end of the season. And I thought that was a really fair thing.
But all that Ten Hag said since he's come in, he's just had the kind of bravado and the energy and vibe of
I can't read that,
I
mate.
can't read that, bro.
Just speak.
Do you know what I mean?
Jaden, just speak. Well, now I've interrupted the stream, you might as well tell us. Well, I'm going to just keep asking you until you tell me now.
Nah, I'm
just waving his hand behind the camera.
I'm not
no
gonna
idea what's happening.
I'm not going to keep asking you. Anyway, I'm just kind of thinking, Ten Hag's come out and he's spoken in interviews, he's spoken press conferences, and he's given the energy and
like he's been told
he's staying, which is, so I don't know, it's all a bit weird.
Ropey, that.
Yeah.
But I thought that was the fairest thing you could have done. Now, the problem is, when you sack him, that's now your guy. You got a little bit of a handoff as INEOS when you go, we didn't put Ten Hag in there. We'll sort the manager. Like, we think he's a good manager, and we're going to sort the background and give him the chance to work under us, and then get all of these things right. The second that you go, get him out the door, and then you bring in somebody else, clock's running. Now we need to see something. Zoateng says, so proud of INEOS. This season wasn't good enough. Of course the players are wank, but Ten Hag has to go. It's been poor management and results. Strong.
It is strong. You know what's the shit show I've seen this season has been a combination of Ten Hag having issues, but obviously you've got players that aren't at the level as well. There's no lies about it. There's certain players in this United team that aren't at the level required, so that's obviously worked against him. You've got the injury issue that's worked against him as well. But I just think, as I've said week in week out, Ten Hag's also exacerbated it with some of his naive tactics as well. So it's just been everything together.
Give me a couple of reasons why. Just summarise McKenna to United. What's your thoughts? 1, will it happen? 2, do you want it to happen? 3, what will happen if it does? 4, where could it go wrong?
This might make people laugh, but I wanted, if Ten Hag was to go, my preference was Thiago Motta. Looking into Bologna all season, doing a little bit of research on him and following him, I thought he was a very good match for our personnel, and I think he was ascending in a big way. And I've always got a little bit of a liking for someone hipster. And the fact that he took Bologna from where they were in the table to how they were now, and also with a lot of cast-offs and has-beens in his squad as well. I thought he really impressed me. I was kind of looking at Thiago Motta as the guy, and if it wasn't for him, I looked at the rest of the manager market and I was like, as much as critical as I've been of Ten Hag, I might have rather give him another year than go for some of the options that I did see.
Well, if Ten Hag
it wasn't Thiago Motta
was available,
do you know what I mean?
If Ten Hag was available now to replace Ten Hag, he'd be one of the number 1 candidates.
Yeah, but that's revisionism. That's revisionism again, because then we now know how he's performed at the club.
I know, but under the circumstances that they've been.
But that goes back to what the point I was making at the first place. Anyway,
let's stick it on McKenna.
It's risk anyway, whoever you appoint.
Do you think he'll be a success at United? If he's appointed?
I don't think the success, if McKenna was to have success at United, it won't be instant, no. I could agree with that.
I think
it's a rebuild gaffer.
Also, what I don't like about this potential appointment, and it's not necessarily anything McKenna's done, and it's certainly nothing INEOS have done. Well, while McKenna was here, there was leaks about the players kicking off about his training and calling him a schoolmaster. Basically, I got the vibe that this group of players didn't respect him.
How do people find out so much of this shit, man? It's always United as well, isn't it?
Yeah. It's always the MEN as well.
Yeah.
Gutter trash. So I think if for McKenna, I'll rephrase it, for McKenna to be a success, the players that have got their egos up their own arse can't be here. Because you're going to need him to play the style of play he plays, similar to some other managers, from Alonso to Gasperini, just from fucking Nagelsmann to De Zerbi to Pep. All of these managers require, Klopp even, they require absolute buy-in. You have to believe in them, otherwise it just ain't going to work. You can't just fucking do your own thing with these managers. You have to buy into the team ethos. I think you can get away with doing your own thing under an Ancelotti maybe, and he'll account for it and he'll find a way around it. But a lot of other managers require all 11 parts to work in sync. So you got to find out the ones who are being bells and they've got to go. Otherwise, you're setting him up for failure. You've got to back him with the sort of signings that he wants, but you've also not just got to allow him to make all of the signings. There's got to be a cohesion between that recruitment and scouting department to find the best players.
True, and especially because I think this summer window, more than most, will see the biggest probably overhaul that we've seen in years, where it's looking like INEOS are very serious and United are serious that a lot of players are going to leave or are going to be put on a chopping block. And then there's obviously going to be an influx of quite a new players, and there's going to be that kind of shape around. There will be growing pains.
And the problem is, new players are hit and miss. Some hit the ground running and immediately 10 out of 10. Some never hit the ground and never work. And you have no idea of knowing what they're going to be. There's a little bit of a safer bet of going for players that have played in the Prem. But if you go with players that have played in the Prem, well, you're playing twice as much. So sometimes you might as well get one from France or Holland, and pay cheap, pay twice almost, because like the monetary value of them is still the same.
Yep.
It's mad that the day before an FA Cup final, you're talking about this. It doesn't feel right to me in the slightest. But I think there's and I know everyone's sort of saying, doesn't matter what happens in the FA Cup final.
Do you not think that's mad though? If I actually deep it, a report, Sky Sports News Athletic, a manager that's still in his job, by the way, with an FA Cup final, and the news report is Manchester United are in contact with Kieran McKenna about the Manchester United job. When you haven't been sacked, you haven't sacked the current gaffer, and the current gaffer is still working in season with an FA Cup final on the horizon. It's just proper weird. It is weird. Whichever way you are on the fence of Ten Hag in or Ten Hag out, I just find that crazy to me, and I think that could only happen at Manchester United. But I just think that's a mad report to come out when someone's still in the job.
I think he's getting Ten Hag tomorrow. Sorry, I think he's getting Van Gaal tomorrow. Which is wank, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that might mean that we win the FA Cup. But yeah, so when people are saying it doesn't matter about the result of the FA Cup, I think that's because they've already made their decision. Because that's clearly what happened with Louis van Gaal. Because if we'd have lost the FA Cup, they'd have sacked him. We won it, and he went, fuck it, sack him anyway.
It's mad though, because if you look back to the semi-finals, United were, would you say, an inch away from being knocked out by Coventry.
Greg Frost says, McKenna, yeah, we were. McKenna has this 3-2-5 build-up where two wide forwards always provide an outball. It sounds like a real cool innovation. You should come and watch the Cheshire League, Division 2, mate. That's literally what I do. It's not innovation. Fucking hell.
You saying that you've done it first, though? You didn't.
No, I didn't do it first. But you didn't do it first either.
Yeah, but your response has made it seem like you've done it first.
No, it's not an innovation, though, is it? If I'm playing it at Cheshire League 2, it's not an innovation. And it's not him that done it either. I mean, fucking hell.
Yeah, but he's done it in the Championship, Steve.
All right, yeah, fair.
It's a little bit different.
But has he done it in the Cheshire League? There we go.
No, he hasn't got that on his roster. Do you know what I mean? He only went and won the Championship doing it.
He came second, didn't he?
Was he second? I thought. Oh, he won. He won.
He came second, didn't he? Leicester won, didn't he?
Oh, it was Leicester. Yeah, Leicester.
Anyway, we'll see you tomorrow after the game. There's a preview out a little bit later on. Tune in for that. Otherwise, enjoy your weekend. And if you're not a United fan, wow, and go fuck yourself. See you in a bit. Oh, wait. Go check out HelloFresh because those noodles were fucking top, by the way. Check them out.